What's up, everybody? This is Cole Boling with the Boling Group at Keller Realty, One Legacy Partners here in Topeka, and you are listening to Topeka Business Uncensored. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. This is Cole Boling with Topeka Business Uncensored. I am the owner and co-founder and co-owner with my wife, Jamie, here at the Boling Group at Keller Williams One Legacy Partners at Topeka. And we do this podcast to showcase local business owners, to showcase business partners, to showcase our community and the people who make our community just bigger and better every day. And today I'm excited. I have Alex Buehler on. Alex, welcome. What's up, buddy?
Thank you. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Alex owns a home inspection company called Parker Inspections, and he's here today to talk about what he does, what a home inspector does, and being a business owner. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about tell us about you, and then tell us about your company and how you came about and what Parker Inspections is, and just let us all know.
Okay, cool. So first thing about me is I had a ton of background in retail. And if anybody out there has ever worked retail, they know the challenges that come along with it. But they know how great it is to teach you like people skills and things like that. So I love the people industry. But then about 3 years ago, I decided to make a change, just wanted more time with my family. And I had a background before that in construction and things like that. And God just did some really cool work in my life. He ended up giving me this opportunity in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So went out there and did some training as a home inspector because someone just reached out of the blue that I'd never even met before and was like, hey, would you be interested? So I lived out there in the past, probably 10 years ago. And turns out one of my friends out there recommended me to this guy who owned his own inspection company. So he called me up. I went out there, did all the training and worked with them for a while. And it was just a lot of fun. I still got to work with lots of people, and I get to meet cool people like you on a daily basis, working with real estate agents and different individuals who are looking to buy a home. And so I love the aspect of getting to be outside, almost like doing more stuff with my hands rather than just doing retail and stuff like that. But I also got the aspect of working with people and making them feel good about their decision, as well as confident in what they're doing. So I decided to make that career change, and I did that for a while. And then I had the opportunity come up where Kansas didn't really have that almost like a personalized home inspection experience that we had out there. So I got the opportunity to come back home.
What do you mean by personalized experience?
So personalized experience, meaning a lot of times, when you schedule a home inspection or things like that, you're clicking buttons and you show up. A lot of times you don't even connect with the inspector. Something different that this company does is we make sure that the first time home buyer feels confident in their decision by, hey, if they want to come to the full inspection, they can come and walk through and do the inspection with us, ask questions as we go. And I've just heard from a lot of agents that's frowned upon by other inspectors, just because it does kind of slow you down. And, it can be frustrating at times when you're trying to get this stuff done and they're asking lots of questions, but we're like, hey, we're here for you and we want to make you confident in your decision. So ask questions and we'll walk you through it to the best of our abilities.
So Parker Inspections itself, is that a franchise or is that something you created?
So that's actually created by the Parkers. That's where the name comes from, in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And they wanted to start a branch out in Kansas. What ended up happening was I moved out here. They started doing really well in Oklahoma, and they kind of gave me the opportunity to do this on my own, with keeping all the name, the advertising, and all that stuff that they already put into it, just because they didn't need that extra workload on top of all the success they were having in Oklahoma. So and being able to buy into this and make this my own.
So they provided you with systems and technology and like the reporting stuff and all that. Is that kind of something they helped you helped you
Yes,
with?
100%. Yeah, when I started, I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, and
Sure.
they were awesome and got me set up, gave me the technology, and the reports that they used are super cool. You don't have to write anything on paper; it's all electronic, so no pad.
So talk to me a little bit about what you think the difference might have been if you started from scratch on your own, finding your own technologies, getting out there and looking for computer programs and training, compared to actually joining an organization that had all this in place.
Definitely the difference would be time, just because there is, like you said, finding the technology that you want to use and personalize it to you and your company. So, for example, the reports that we use are like super user friendly, and I feel like I probably would have had to go through 2 or 3 different systems before I found one that was actually the fit that we were looking for. So, you try and you fail, and you try and you fail. That's how you grow. But this way I was able to already come into one that lots of people enjoyed, used, and is easy to work with. But another thing would definitely be, like you said, already having a set up a game plan of how to get business rolling, because they did start from scratch in Oklahoma. So I had them by my side the whole time saying like, hey, here's some ideas that we did. This is what worked. This is what didn't. Try them both, see what works in your area. So if you're starting from scratch versus, starting with someone helping you, get somebody that has started from scratch to help walk you through it, because that is a game changer. Because it's so easy to lose hope when you're, on your own, and it's like, okay, there's no results. So that's probably.
So you bring up a really good point. When a lot of people, and I'll just use real estate for instance, because it's where we're at, right?
Right.
A lot of people get into real estate and they just feel like they have to figure it out themselves. I'd say probably 98% of everybody who gets into real estate has an ego thing. I don't know anything else to say, where they're like, I don't need anybody else's help. I can do this. I can figure out how to do this business. And the reality of it is it's no different than what you're saying. If people were to really look for a mentor, join a team, get involved with an organization who has been through it, right? Like somebody one time, we had a former team leader explain me really well when he was talking about how the difference between, he used me as an example. He said the difference between a new agent and a seasoned agent is a new agent will explain it to you in a paragraph or longer, and an experienced agent will explain it to you in a sentence, and you'll understand it better.
Yeah.
And that is really what I'm hearing from you, is that when you say time, I'm assuming you mean time to speed to success, in a sense, where it's I could have ran through mud for a while, but why not run through a little murky water instead? Right. And when you say time, I'm assuming you mean that I can get my business up and running faster. I can become more profitable quicker because of not learning from my own mistakes per se, but learning from others. Use their mistakes, right? And that's not just real estate. That's not just home inspection. Like, this is business, right? Business in general. I was having a conversation on my last podcast with a couple gentlemen, and they were talking about how they go to another major market to learn how to do marketing, they're injury accident attorneys, and they go to Arizona and literally just copy exactly what the top injury accident attorneys in Arizona are doing. And I said the same thing to them as I'm saying today, is learn from others. Not everybody is your competition. Even people in your own market are not always competition, and competition is not always bad.
Right. 100%.
So, I love what you said there. I really did. So tell me, the other thing that's fascinating is Tulsa in general. I have recently seen a lot of major companies and major successful people come out of Tulsa. And we had a new mortgage lender come through recently, and they have a $3 billion bank coming out of Tulsa. So I found that really fascinating, that Tulsa seems to produce some really cool products and some more innovative type things that are that we are seeing. You said you spent how long were you in Tulsa?
Well, I went back to Tulsa when I heard from them, but in the past I had moved out there for my first assistant manager position in the retail industry. So
okay, I got to know, what were you doing in retail?
I was with the Buckle.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know that clothing store?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I got recruited from the Legends Shopping Center when it first opened up. I was assistant manager at Finish Line, and then the district manager came over and recruited me, and was like, "Hey, we're needing some people out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We just have the store. We're turning it around. Come out there with us." And dude, like you said, Tulsa's it's a different ball game out there, man.
It's there's some big players.
Yeah, it's such like a small town feel, but it's just exploded and it's huge. And I can only imagine even now, but I was only there for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then I moved back and I was a glazer for a little bit. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's not working with donuts. It's installing windows. But I did that for a while. And then I worked with a company that my dad works for, and did a bunch of different carpentry work and things like that. So then I went back to retail because they reached out again and offered me a better position. But I actually managed the Topeka Buckle for quite a while out here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I was working for them when my wife and I got married, and we had our first boys. And
yeah,
so it was.
I actually used to manage the Gordon Jewelers in the mall.
Oh, nice. How long
Many
ago
years
was that?
ago. 04, maybe.
4. Dude, we might have been
18 years. We probably were there
all at the same time.
Yeah, so I was all through college. I did jewelry sales. I was one of the top diamond salespeople in the Zell's Corporation, because Gordon Jewelers was owned by Zell's, and then everything was tracked under this huge umbrella. And then I was somewhat recruited over to K Jewelers, helped them relocate from upstairs, downstairs in the mall. So I did a lot of retail myself. I know exactly what you mean. Like there's so many correlations to our businesses with people and understanding needs and serving people at a high level, and especially management, right? When we get into management, you get into scheduling, you get into all of these different intricacies of a business. And even in a retail form, like you really are introduced to a lot of other business things that you don't realize until you really start running and owning a business. So tell me, what is it like owning a business and running a business and knowing that you are responsible for everything that comes into your world?
Man, it's a different ball game for sure. You learn a lot your first year. I would say, once again, get with somebody who already owns a business, ask as many questions as possible. There's a lot of stuff that I let slip through the cracks my first year. Like my taxes, for example, just, oh man,
sure.
Trying to figure that out on your own, dude. Your first year, get someone to do it with you.
Just pay the money.
Just
pay somebody to figure it out.
It's worth it, man. So yeah, just that. And like you said, in the retail industry, it kind of gives you that sense of the ownership, the sense of the management, but there's not as much risk. So when you get into the ownership, then there's a lot more high risk, high reward type thing. And you don't realize all the cushion and support that you had. So setting up systems is definitely the biggest and most important thing you can do as a business owner, because if you let something fall through the cracks when you're first getting started, it's a big deal because you don't have all these people that are helping you do things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. I really help a lot of my newer business people with this thing called the Profit First. And Profit First is a book that turned into a program. It has a coaching world as well. But what it really is it teaches you how to pay yourself first and set aside the correct amount of percentages you need to pay taxes. There's incomes, there's savings, there's distribution, like type things where you literally have 5 accounts and you put the percentages in. Once you make a certain dollar amount, you do different percentages. And it's amazing how one, you have to have profit, right? So profit is like obviously the first piece of it. If you're not making money, and we have a little bit of a different problem to worry about. However, that's a whole nother story. Yet when you do have profit, what we do is we always allocate 15% right off the top to a tax account, and that account doesn't get touched, and it's out of sight, out of mind. And then we pay ourselves a small owner profit of maybe a 5%, and then we have different percentages where we pay ourselves first, and then we have our expense accounts where we actually pay out the expenses and things like that. And so and then you got savings and other things. But the really interesting thing about what you're saying is it is a system, and it is to make sure that when Uncle Sam goes, "Hey, where's my check?" you don't go, "I don't know," right? Everybody hates paying checks. Everybody hates paying the government. Everybody. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't think about. This is the difference between an abundant mindset person and a scarcity mindset person. When I get that call that you owe money to Uncle Sam and you can write that check, it means you're doing very well. I actually am okay paying Uncle Sam bigger amounts of money because that means I made a lot of money. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And I've said this on my podcast before, and I'll say it again, is making money is not bad. Money itself is really good. Yet it's good for the good that you do with it, right? And if it's in the last people we had on, they give back randomly to DoorDash people and Grubhub people and tithe to churches and give back to community, and that is all fantastic. And I also do that and believe that you should be okay with allowing the world to see what you are doing. And I know that you've started doing some stuff on TikTok and some other social media stuff, right? And
trying to figure TikTok out.
Good luck. Yeah, we did one yesterday with our dog going to the groomer just because it was funny. And it's my wife was just trying to figure out how to hit it just right and all these things. And I'm just have fun with that. I got plenty of other things over here. But looking at making money, showing what we're doing, showing that we're doing it in relation to caring about people is huge. And then we have platforms like TikTok that help us do that. So talk to me about that. I saw a TikTok the other day where you were pointing out a light switch in a shower, and I was like, oh my gosh. So how has social media helped you get a little bit of your message out?
Man, social media it's a monster in itself, man. You don't realize how much of an effect it can have on your business. And it goes into kind of the marketing realm for yourself. You think, okay, this is taking away time because I'm spending, maybe even an hour a day on social media. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of time I could be spent doing a bunch of other things. But things that I've found that work are being consistent on social media. And it takes about 3 weeks for you to gain traction just in posting consistently, responding to people, messaging on their things as well. And after about 3 weeks worth of time, I honestly start getting messages, questions, inspections. People are, reaching out, scheduling and things like that. So then the first thing I do is cut back on my social media because I'm getting busy, and then that business starts going away. So it's about being consistent. And if you're not on social media because you think it's a waste of time, or you think it's just for young kids that are cool, figure it out.
Well, you have to. I mean, if you're not on there, you don't have a presence. Google, Facebook, TikTok, they're going to delete you. You literally will become non-existent. And they've been saying this for a couple of years now, that if you aren't video based and you aren't voice based, which is podcasts and keeping out in front of people, that is going to be the single-handed thing that destroys your business.
Yep.
And we don't want that, right?
Right.
You hit the nail on the head though. Again, you don't have to be young, you don't have to be old. It's just about open it up, read the screen, figure it out. It can be as raw and real as possible. I mean, that's the whole reason I created the name of this podcast as Topeka Business Uncensored, because when we're raw and we're real and we're honest, I'm not editing a bunch of stuff, and I'm not making people something they're not. These are real conversations that are happening. if you're running a business and you're being honest and funny and showing your personality, and and I'll go back to the whole light switch in the shower thing, is like, it was funny, and it's like, yeah, that's stupid, but it was also funny. It was humorous, it was fun, it was lighthearted, and that is what people, it's just about being in front of people because of one thing and one thing only. Icebreakers is what I call, and let me explain that a little bit further, is when somebody sees you on a video, you become known to them. They don't feel like it cuts down time.
You're real.
Time. You're real. They feel like they already know you. They have this weird sense of trust in you. Like, if I don't know how many times my wife and I have been hired by people that saw us on video first, because you already just feel like you know each other, and it's like, oh yeah, and then they start talking. It's like, oh yeah, I've watched a couple of you guys' videos. And it's like, so we don't even edit. It's just basically like, here, real, we're raw. This is us. And so I want to commend you for that, because I believe that is something that you should do more, and you are doing. And I think the more and more you do that, that'll help get you out there. Talk to me a little bit. Definitely. Talk to me a little bit about, what is a home inspection?
Man, so a home inspection can be more than just one thing. A lot of times, the thing that happens most for home inspections is people are selling, or people are interested in buying a home. So they reach out to a home inspector. Their agent recommends that they get a home inspection, because a lot of times people are like, what's a home inspection? Like first-time buyers, never even heard of a home inspection before. But a home inspection is when we go into the home and make sure that it is safe for you and your family, as well as making sure that nothing's going to sneak up later on and bite you in the butt, as far as financially, as far as safety, anything in those two categories. So for example, I mean, it could be as simple as like making sure that locks on the windows and the doors are working, to making sure there's no like massive plumbing leaks that you can't see, and everything in between. So we go from the roof, through the attic, through the main floor, the basement, the crawl space, and just look for everything on more of a minuscule scope than anybody else would. So
okay. So when you're looking at things like that, you may not see you're not removing walls, right?
Right.
It's still a visual inspection, correct?
Have you seen that TV show of the inspector that goes in, and I don't remember his name, but people keep sending me videos of this guy, and he goes in and he like will rip the siding off the house and be like, yep, I knew it. They missed a stud here. And I'm like, bro, it's not like homes on homes, is it? You can't do that in a home inspection. You're 100% right. It's 100% visual. So anything that we're doing where we're actually removing covers off things and stuff like that, that's going above and beyond what's required. So it
opens up a lot of liability too if you start doing that as well.
Exactly. If I jab my screwdriver through the wall or something like that, then you have to pay to fix this, and the rest of the wall as well. Yeah. And I think a lot of people do, on my side of the table, think that you're going to take the walls down. Like, I really do have conversations with people where they're like, are they going to come in and look, see what the concrete looks like behind the drywall? And I'm like, and how do you think they're going to do that? Well, I mean, they don't take the wall down, or they don't like run a camera into the sheetrock. And I'm like, no, I mean, if you could see it, they can see it. But the difference is they know how 2 and 2 equals 4, right? Right.
Because we can look at something and see that, that doesn't quite look right, but we may not know how to put it into actual legal terminology of what's wrong, right? For sure. And now on the aspect of like electrical, like you do look in the panel. That's one of the things that typically is looked at, correct? For sure. Like behind and then all the plugs and then like plumbing and stuff like that. Like you would run all the water at one time, right? Just to see.
Correct.
And typically those kind of things are going to tell you if there's a drainage issue, and you're going to then do something like recommend an additional inspection with somebody who may be a specialist in that. Is that correct?
Correct. Another great thing about running water and things like that is typically what I'll do is I'll run all the water in the house. So the homeowners don't always like me that much because their water bill skyrockets after the inspection. But I run all the water in the house for about 15 minutes. And what that does is it runs a full cycle through the plumbing. So that way, if there is any leaks or anything like that, it will at least have moisture behind the walls. And then you track down kind of, I mean, you as even a real estate agent, you knew kind of where the plumbing would be going behind the walls and things like that. So we have a moisture indicator, and we kind of track down those areas and test the walls for moisture. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. And sometimes the moisture meter catches it where it looks completely dry, but because you ran that full cycle of water, you're able to see, oh, here, there's moisture behind this wall, where it dries up fairly quickly because it's only when a full cycle of water throughout the house is run.
Interesting. Yeah, that's running those full cycles tells a lot of people a lot of stuff, right? And yet my biggest thing here for people to understand as they're listening to this, it is so important to get a home inspection, because you are not going to go into a house during a home showing and looking at home and do this. Like,
right.
And remember, people are going to have their house dry just enough or have things positioned just enough during a showing so
just
you emotionally fall in love with it, right? Just enough. But the reality of it is when an inspector's coming, they see beyond just the little things. And I always recommend inspections. I think inspections are fantastic. They give us a sense of security and protection on the back end as well, because when people do waive inspections and they decide not to do it, we're opening ourselves up to such a liability. They're opening themselves up to such a liability. The sellers are allowing a liability, and really bringing in that third party inspector is putting it's almost like a wall there. It's like, hey, we did our due diligence. We had this checked and it was just missed, right? Everybody's human. But the reality of it is it will be a lot less missed if we have a professional involved every step of the way. And that is one thing I love about home inspectors. I love about what you guys do. And I do know that you guys are specialists in what you do, where you're not going to go and try to inspect something that is a specialist job, right? Like you may individually do something, but you can look at a fireplace, but you're not going in and doing the full fireplace inspection of the internal cavities of a fireplace. Like that's typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, that typically would be referred to as additional inspection to a fireplace or a chimney expert. Or,
correct.
Let's say a swimming pool, there's a leak in a swimming pool. Like you can verify there's a leak, but you're probably not getting out there with the sonar equipment to figure out exactly where the leak is, right? And,
absolutely.
And so that's the difference, though. A whole house inspector is a general blanket inspector. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a general blanket inspector who's going to touch on a 57 or 257 or 857 items, right? Whatever it may be. But when it comes to something that is a very specific oriented piece of the whole thing, you're going to recommend an additional inspection. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. I think a lot of times people, when they hear that, they think that, so he's not going to, or they're not going to test the full functions of the specialized things like electrical, plumbing, HVAC. But like you said, those are all things that we do test. We do run a full cycle through. But if there is something wrong, we can indicate, hey, this is what seems to be the problem. From our abilities and our professional opinions, this is what could be wrong. But we aren't professionals in that field. So we would recommend you have someone in that field specifically come in and
absolutely.
So yeah, like when it comes to the HVAC system, there's so many different things and so many different intricate pieces that if you were to know all of the stuff about that, there's no way you can know all the stuff about plumbing and electrical and everything like that, because they're masters in their field, man. So yeah, there's
a reason that they take 2 years to be able to get to do it on their own.
Exactly. So yeah, that's something that we do, is we do test the functions of it, and we'll be able to know, hey, what's wrong, and almost pinpoint it to the point to where when the professional comes in, he can look at that and say, okay, here's what we need to do to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you open up a furnace and you see there's rust, you probably know we have an issue. You may not know where the issue is coming from, but you know there shouldn't be rust inside of that unit.
For sure. So we'll track down the different areas of where moisture could be coming into the unit and say like, hey, there's a leak on this here, or it's not sealed properly, or there's extremely high levels of moisture in your basement. So different things like that. But once again, yeah, we'll be like, hey, this is probably the cause of it, but we don't want to say that that's what it is because we're not technically qualified professionals in the HVAC industry.
Yeah, exactly. And yet you keep up with your education, you keep up with all the things you need to know. And you're, just like us, we're all learning every day. Like I always make this joke that I can never see everything in a house. If I've been in 1,000, which I have been over 1,000 houses, I still walk in and I'm like, what? Like, what is this? Right. I remember one time I walked into this house and the buyer was like, hey, Cole, what is this back here? And I walked back and I'm like, I have no idea. And I really didn't know what it was. I walked out and went down, I looked at it and I opened it up and it was an underground silo in the backyard.
Nice.
And I'm like, what? Like it was like for a tornado thing, right? It wasn't like super deep or anything, but the way that it was like covered up, and I didn't have a clue what it was. And then, and then we see pipes coming out all the time that like, I can usually track down what most things are. But then, there's times where, still to this day, I'll be like, I have no idea what they were thinking, no idea what they were doing. Actually just wrote an offer on a house about a month ago where they had all these like garden hoses running out of the wall in the unfinished trim. And I went on the other side of the wall and they were hooked to nothing, but they had run it through the wall. And there wasn't even anywhere that the water could have been hooked. It was just baffling, right? And we see that all the time. I sometimes wish that, I think you should write a book. I think we should all write books about the wildest things we see in these houses. And we kind of are documenting it. You're doing it, and I think you should do more of it through TikTok and document everything that's weird, because I think that one thing that might end up happening is you could take all your TikToks and write a book. And I think it would be I think people would enjoy reading like all these little like weird things that you've seen in people do in homes. But yeah, that would be pretty good.
Like you said, it's no matter what, you're going to come across something new. You haven't seen it all, no matter how many you've seen.
I don't get it. Some things I cannot get how people come up with these random ideas. Like there's literally simple ways to do things, and people come up with these complex ways of doing things. But hey, how can people get a hold of you? Like what's the best way to contact you? And if somebody wants to have you come out and inspect they don't have to be in a real estate transaction. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. I have a lot of people that contact me when they're interested in selling their house. And they're like, hey, I want to get this ready for selling because I don't want any extra surprise costs as the seller to come up, or I don't want to, even just being respectful of their buyers. Like, hey, I don't want to sell this house in bad shape or have something bad happen to the people that buy it because I like them or I know them, and I don't want this to be like a really big transaction and then have it screw them over. So a lot of times people will reach out to me before they sell their house, and I'll come and do a pre-inspection. And I also offer a discount if they use me for that, and then for the inspection on the home that they're buying as well. But best way to contact me is just through text, phone call on my work line. If you're looking to schedule an inspection, just go to parkerinspections.com. It's super easy. I've heard a lot of people say they really enjoy it. So we've gotten lots of really good feedback from that. Okay. I do have Facebook. You can message me on there. Instagram, message me on there. TikTok, I'm still figuring it out, but I'll message you back. I think I'll get there.
So all these ways of contacting him will be in the description below. You can reach out to him in multiple avenues. And if you're having questions about your house in a general sense, you can call him. He'll come out and do an inspection. You don't have to be in a transaction. You don't have to be selling. Sometimes you just may want to know more about your own house.
For sure.
And they can what's a typical inspection cost?
We base it off of square footage. So, I mean, the average home usually ends up being about $450.
Okay, so $450. That's a lot cheaper than $4,000 or $45,000 or something later. Figure it out when you don't look.
When you miss something, yeah,
and it can go that high that fast.
Oh, sure.
So typically about $450, and coming from a real estate professional who's done hundreds and hundreds of homes, I can tell you that inspectors are our saviors. They are our friends, yet they are a neutral third party who 100% is there to make sure that the house is safe, secured. They're not there for one or the other sides. They're really there to follow what they have to look for, and then they're documenting everything. They're not hiding anything. They're not just trying to get a transaction or a check to go through. And that's from my side of it, not from necessarily just what I'm sure Alex would say and agree with. But it really is about the transaction. You may be the client. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they are there to make sure that they're fair, they're honest, they're telling you everything you need to know, even if you don't want to hear it. Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. And anything you want to add to that?
Man, it's tough when you go into a transaction and the client's really excited about this home, and you have to tell them all the things that are wrong with it. But it's also really great when you get to tell them, hey, this is a beautiful home. You're all set. So our job is not to, make you think it's nice, but actually tell you everything there is to know about your home, whether it's good or bad. So that's something that we do is we add in everything from, little maintenance items on the report to the big stuff that's really scary. So that way you have a checklist of, hey, important to, hey, I can clean out my gutters on my own next month, whatever it might be, but Exactly. It's all going to be on there. It's all broken down. So it's almost like a 5-year checklist that you can kind of work through as you go too. So.
Yeah, I mean, you and I could dive a lot deeper into some of these things, and yet I won't today. Hopefully we could do this again in a year or so and just kind of see where your business has gone, see how much it's grown. And thank you so much for being here today. I love these kind of conversations because I learn stuff. I get to meet new people and have awesome conversations. And I hope that anybody listening to this, if you're thinking about getting a home inspection, that you will consider hiring Alex, hiring Parker Inspections to come out and do the inspection on your property. They're staying ahead of it. This is what he does for a living. This is how he supports his family, and I really hope that you guys take the time to consider working with Alex and Parker Inspections. So Alex, thank you again for being here today. We really appreciate you being on the show. So
appreciate it. Well, it was great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will see you next time.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Topeka Business Uncensored, where we interview business owners in the Topeka, Kansas area about their business and a little bit about them as a person. I'm Cole Boling, and I am one of the co-owners with my wife, Jamie, of the Boling Group real estate team with Keller Williams, One Legacy Partners in Topeka. If you are thinking about selling, buying, or investing in real estate, I'd love to connect with you through our website at thebolinggroup.com.